Don't sign that. The words left my mouth before common sense could stop them, and 51 floors above Manhattan, a room full of powerful strangers went completely silent. 12 minutes earlier, I had been Claire Bennett, 29 years old, soaked from the August rain and trying to finish the last delivery of a 14-hour shift. Now I was standing inside a glass conference room at Callahan Tower with a cardboard package pressed against my chest, wondering how quickly a person could get fired for interrupting a meeting she was never supposed to see. My delivery app had given me one instruction: Suite 4702. Legal documents. Signature required. Easy. Except the service elevator rejected my badge. The lobby was chaos because of a security system update, and a distracted guard glanced at my tracking number and waved me toward a private elevator. 51st floor. Someone will meet you. Nobody did. The elevator opened onto polished black stone, muted lights, and the kind of silence expensive buildings seem to manufacture. I stepped out in my rain-damp sneakers, tugged my navy delivery jacket over my curvy frame, and immediately knew I was in the wrong place. Men in tailored suits stood outside enormous glass doors. Every face turned toward me. Delivery, I said, lifting the package like it could explain my existence. One guard checked the label, frowned, then opened the door. That was how I walked into Vincent Callahan's biggest meeting of the year. I didn't know that yet. I only knew everyone around the long table looked like they belonged there, and I absolutely didn't. Then I saw him. Vincent sat at the head of the table in a charcoal suit, perfectly still while everyone else seemed to orbit him. He was tall, even-seated, broad through the shoulders, with dark hair and a face that gave away almost nothing. His collar sat slightly open, revealing black ink climbing the side of his neck before disappearing beneath his shirt. Only a glimpse of the extensive tattoos hidden beneath the expensive fabric. He didn't need to raise his voice. He barely needed to move. The room adjusted around him anyway. A silver pin rested between his fingers. A contract waited beneath it. I should have handed over my package and left. Instead, my eyes landed on the blue and gold logo printed across the contract folder. Halcyon Meridian Holdings. My stomach tightened. The same logo was printed on the package in my hands. Same company, same lettering, but not the same address. I knew because delivery drivers remember strange addresses, especially ones that send you 3 times in 1 month to a boarded-up storefront in Queens. 1847, Linden Avenue. I had stood there myself, staring through dusty glass while my dispatcher tried to figure out why an international company, supposedly worth millions, had its mail delivered beside an abandoned laundromat. The contract on Vincent's table listed a gleaming corporate address on Park Avenue. His pen moved toward the signature line. My heart kicked hard. Stay quiet, Claire. Deliver the box. Go home. His pen touched paper. Don't sign that. Silence. Absolute silence. Vincent slowly raised his eyes to me. Someone near the window whispered, "Who is she?" I swallowed. "I'm sorry. I know this isn't my business." A gray-haired man beside Vincent leaned back with an irritated expression. "Then don't make it your business." I almost apologized. Almost left. Then Vincent spoke. "Why?" One word. Calm. Controlled. Somehow worse than anger. I looked from him to the contract, then down at the rain-spotted package against my chest. "Because this says Halcyon Meridian Holdings." The gray-haired man sighed. "Obviously. I've delivered to them before." Vincent's expression changed by maybe half an inch. "Where?" I gave him the Queen's address. Nobody moved. Vincent looked toward the gray-haired man, then back at me. "That's impossible." I nodded toward the contract. "Maybe. But the company on your paperwork supposedly operates from Park Avenue." I placed my package carefully on the table. "The company on this shipping account operates from an empty storefront 12 miles away." Vincent's gaze dropped to the label. His pen stopped moving. "How certain are you?" Every sensible instinct told me to soften my answer. I didn't. Certain enough that I wouldn't put my name on that paper. And for the first time since I entered the room, Vincent Callahan looked away from me. He closed the contract, set his pen beside it, and said 5 quiet words that changed the direction of my life. "Nobody signs anything. Check it." The silence after Vincent Callahan gave that order felt heavier than the rain pressing against the windows. Nobody questioned him. The gray-haired man beside him, Grant Mercer, reached for the package I had placed on the table, but Vincent lifted one hand. Grant stopped immediately. "Leave it," Vincent said. His voice was quiet, almost casual, yet everyone in the room seemed to hear something beneath it that I did not. Grant turned toward me instead. "Mr. Callahan, we are delaying a $400 million agreement because a delivery driver remembers an address." There it was. Delivery driver. 2 words meant to shrink me back down to the size he thought I belonged. I tightened my grip on the strap of my bag. "I remember because I delivered there 3 times. Grant gave me a thin smile. "And I am sure that seemed very important during your route." Heat climbed into my face, but I refused to look away. Important enough that somebody signed for every package. Vincent's eyes sharpened. "Somebody." I nodded. "Different names. Same handwriting." That changed the room. Vincent leaned back slowly, studying me with an attention that made every small sound disappear. "You remember signatures?" "I remember patterns." I shrugged. "It helps when you make more than 100 stops a week." Vincent turned toward a younger man near the end of the table. "Ethan, verify Linden Avenue. Ownership records, business registration, shipping accounts. Everything." Ethan opened his laptop immediately. Grant exhaled through his nose. "This is absurd. Halcyon passed every compliance review." "Then verification will take 5 minutes," Vincent replied. Nobody spoke after that. 5 minutes became 7. Rain crawled down the glass behind Vincent, turning Manhattan into streaks of silver and gold. I became painfully aware of my wet jacket, my aching feet, and the fact that my delivery app was probably counting every second I stood there. Then Ethan stopped typing. His face changed. "Mr. Callahan." Vincent did not move. "Say it. Linden Avenue is real. Halcyon has received registered deliveries there for 6 months. The Park Avenue office listed in our contract was leased 11 days ago." Grant's expression hardened. "That proves nothing." Ethan continued. "There is more. The corporate registration attached to our due diligence packet does not match the state filing date." Vincent looked down at the unsigned contract. The room suddenly felt colder. "How did that clear legal?" Nobody answered. "How did it clear finance?" Still nothing. Finally, Vincent looked at Grant. "How did it reach my desk?" Grant straightened his tie. "We will investigate." Vincent's gaze stayed on him for another long second before returning to me. "Claire Bennett." Hearing my name from him startled me. He nodded toward my identification badge. "You just stopped me from signing something my entire team approved." I only noticed an address. "No," his eyes moved around the table. "You noticed what everyone else failed to question." I shifted uncomfortably. "Can I go now?" For the first time, something almost amused passed across Vincent's face. Around us, men responsible for millions of dollars looked at me as though nobody had ever asked him that before. Vincent folded his hands over the closed contract. "In a moment. First, Claire, I need you to tell me everything you remember about those deliveries." "I remember enough to know somebody wanted those packages forgotten." The words came out more confidently than I felt. Vincent Callahan watched me from across the table while Grant Mercer gave a quiet, humorless laugh. "This has gone far enough," Grant said. She made a lucky observation. "Security can take her statement downstairs." I looked at him. "You keep calling it luck." His smile disappeared. Vincent said nothing, so I continued. "The first delivery was 6 months ago. Tuesday morning, around 9:30. The storefront had brown paper covering the windows and no company sign. A man came from the building next door to sign for it." Ethan looked up from his laptop. "Name: Daniel Price." His fingers moved across the keyboard. "Second delivery, about 7 weeks later. Same address. Different man. He signed Michael Reed." Grant folded his arms. "Common names. Common handwriting, too." Silence returned. I could hear the air conditioning humming above us. Vincent leaned forward. Black ink disappeared beneath both cuffs of his white shirt when he rested his forearms on the table. "Explain." Both men made the capital R the same strange way. Long first stroke, then a tiny loop. I noticed because the second guy complained that my scanner was slow. Ethan stopped typing again. "Claire, when was the third delivery?" I closed my eyes for a second, picturing my route history. Rain, coffee, traffic on Queens Boulevard. 3 weeks ago, Friday afternoon. For 20, maybe 4:30. Who signed? Nobody. Vincent's expression tightened. Nobody. The package was redirected while I was driving. Dispatch told me to leave it at a private receiving warehouse in Brooklyn. Ethan turned his laptop toward Vincent. "Halcyon does not list a Brooklyn warehouse." Grant pushed back his chair. "We are building a conspiracy out of shipping errors." Vincent finally looked at him. "Sit down, Grant." The words were soft. Grant sat. That was when I understood something I had missed from the moment I entered the room. Vincent was not powerful because he demanded attention. He was powerful because nobody wanted to test what happened when they ignored him. Except, apparently, me. I reached for my bag. "You have what I know. I need to finish my shift." Vincent glanced at the clock. "It is almost 11. My landlord does not accept mysterious corporate meetings as rent." A few men looked down, hiding smiles. Vincent did not. "I can compensate you for your time." "No." That answer landed harder than I expected. "I did not stop you because I wanted money." For several seconds, he simply studied me. Then he nodded once. Not offended. Almost impressed. Ethan's computer chimed. He stared at the screen, all amusement gone. "Mr. Callahan, I found the Brooklyn warehouse." Vincent turned toward him. "And?" Ethan swallowed. "It is leased by a company connected to Callahan Holdings." Vincent's face became unreadable. "Which department?" Ethan hesitated. "Executive finance." Nobody spoke. Vincent slowly closed the laptop between us. "Then the problem is not Halcyon." His eyes moved across every person at that table before settling on me. "The problem is someone inside my company. Show me the warehouse." Vincent said it without raising his voice, but Ethan was already turning the laptop back around. A map appeared on the screen, centered on a narrow industrial block near the Brooklyn waterfront. I recognized it immediately. That is not where they sent me. Every face turned toward me again. Ethan frowned. "The lease says 614 Harbor Street." I stepped closer despite myself. "Dispatch sent me to 628. Vincent looked at Ethan. "What is at 628? A few seconds of typing. "Private mail receiving company. Small operation. Less than 2 years old." I stared at the map, and something clicked into place. "Wait." I pulled out my phone and opened my delivery history. My battery was down to 12%, but the records were still there. "I have seen that company before." Grant sighed. "Claire, thousands of businesses use receiving services." I ignored him and scrolled. "Not this one." Vincent rose from his chair. Standing, he seemed even larger, his dark suit hiding most of the tattoos I knew covered him from his neck downward. He moved beside me, but stopped with enough distance to make it clear he was waiting for permission to look. I turned the screen toward him. "Here. 4 months ago, Westbridge Consulting. Then 2 months ago, North Vale Imports. 3 weeks ago, Halcyon Meridian." Ethan searched each name. His expression changed with every result. "All 3 companies have different owners." "But," Vincent asked, "all 3 used the same receiving address at some point during the last year." My pulse quickened. I kept scrolling. Drivers saw hundreds of labels every week. Most disappeared from memory the second a customer signed. But repetition stayed with me. Same loading dock. Same red door. Same security camera angled too low. "There were more," I whispered. "How many?" Vincent asked. "I do not know. 5. Maybe 6. Grant stood again. "This proves nothing except that companies share a mail service." I looked directly at him. "Then why did every package require executive authorization before dispatch would release it?" The room went still. Ethan's fingers froze above his keyboard. Vincent's eyes narrowed. "Executive authorization?" I nodded. "Normally, a reroute gets approved by a supervisor. These came through differently." The screen showed executive priority. Ethan began searching internal records. Seconds stretched. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Then he found it. Every reroute was approved through a Callahan executive account. Vincent's jaw tightened. "Whose?" Ethan hesitated. "The authorization credentials rotate through finance. I need more time to isolate the user." Grant stepped toward the door. "Then let your cybersecurity team handle it. This woman has already told us everything useful." "Maybe not," I said. A memory surfaced. Small. Ordinary. The kind nobody important would notice. The man who signed at the Brooklyn location always wore the same employee badge. Vincent turned back to me. "Which company?" "None of those companies." I searched my memory, seeing the badge against a gray jacket. White lettering. A green stripe. Then I remembered. Callahan Freight Services. Ethan went pale. Vincent did not move at all. "That division handles internal logistics," he said. I nodded slowly. "Then somebody has been using your own delivery network to connect companies that are supposed to have nothing to do with each other." Vincent looked around the table, but this time his attention did not feel suspicious. It felt calculating. Everyone out except Ethan, Grant, and Claire. Chairs moved immediately. I reached for my bag. I am included in everyone. Vincent looked at me. I need your memory. And I need sleep. For 1 second, neither of us moved. Then something unexpected happened. Vincent nodded. Fair. He took a business card from his pocket and placed it on the table instead of handing it to me. Tomorrow, 10 in the morning. Only if you choose to come. I stared at the card, then at him. The most powerful man in the room had just done something nobody expected. He had asked instead of ordered. I picked up the card. Then Ethan's laptop chimed again. His face lost all color. Vincent, there is another executive priority shipment scheduled for 6 tomorrow morning. Vincent's eyes hardened. Destination? Ethan looked at me before answering. The same Queen storefront Claire found 6 months ago. Cancel the shipment, Vincent said. Ethan was already typing when Grant stepped forward. Do not. The word landed strangely. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just fast enough that everyone noticed. Grant adjusted his cuff and recovered almost immediately. If someone inside the company is manipulating these deliveries, canceling this one will warn them that we know. Vincent studied him. Then what do you suggest? Let it move. Quietly monitor it. Find out who receives it. I looked from Grant to Vincent. That sounds reasonable. Grant gave me a satisfied nod. Finally, I was not agreeing with you. His expression tightened. If the shipment leaves at 6, whoever arranged it probably expects the normal driver, normal route, normal timing. The second your people start following it, somebody might notice. Ethan looked at me. She has a point. Grant rubbed his forehead. She delivers packages. She is not an investigator. Exactly, I said. Nobody notices delivery people. Vincent's eyes settled on me, and I immediately regretted opening my mouth. No, he said. Absolutely not. I blinked. I did not volunteer. Good. I was explaining why whoever built this system used delivery routes. We are background noise. People see the uniform, take the box, sign the screen, and forget our faces before the elevator closes. Vincent remained silent. I could almost see the thought forming behind his eyes. Then he looked at Ethan. Pull every executive priority reroute from the last 12 months. Do not contact the logistics department yet. Grant frowned. Vincent, you cannot seriously be building an internal investigation around her memory. Her memory stopped me from signing a $400 million contract your department approved. That ended the argument. I checked my phone. 11:14. 3 missed messages from dispatch. 1 warning about an incomplete route. Reality came rushing back. I really have to go. Vincent looked toward the windows. Rain still covered Manhattan in silver sheets. My driver will take you home. No, thank you. Claire. That sounded suspiciously like an order. Something shifted in his expression. He caught himself. It was. Then the answer is still no. Ethan suddenly became very interested in his computer. Grant looked openly offended on Vincent's behalf. I pulled my jacket closed over my curvy frame and reached for the package. Vincent placed 2 fingers on the cardboard before I could lift it. This stays. Then somebody needs to sign for it. For 1 impossible second, Vincent Callahan looked confused. I held out my scanner. I cannot close the delivery without a signature. Ethan coughed to hide a laugh. Vincent took the stylus. Dark ink covered the back of his hand and disappeared beneath his cuff, another glimpse of the tattoos hidden beneath his immaculate suit. He signed simply, Vincent Callahan. My scanner chirped. Congratulations, I said. You officially received 1 suspicious package. The corner of his mouth moved. Barely. And you officially interrupted 1 very expensive meeting. I think we are even. Not remotely. I slipped the scanner into my bag. That sounds like a problem for tomorrow. I started toward the door. Claire. I turned. Vincent was still standing beside the table, surrounded by glass, money, and men who seemed afraid to disagree with him. But when he spoke again, his voice had changed. Will you come back at 10? Not stay. Not you will. Will you? I looked at the business card in my hand. If I come back, I am not working for you. Understood. You do not send people to my apartment. Understood. You do not interfere with my job. A pause. Understood. I narrowed my eyes. And if you know something that could affect me, you tell me. That pause lasted longer. Too long. Vincent. Agreed, he finally said. I should have noticed the hesitation. Instead, I slipped his card into my pocket and walked out. At 6:12 the next morning, I was standing beside my delivery van in Queens with bad coffee in one hand when my work phone chimed. Executive priority. Pickup location, Callahan Freight Services. Destination, 1847, Linden Avenue. I stared at the screen until the coffee went cold. Then another message appeared beneath it. Driver assignment confirmed, Claire Bennett. Someone inside Vincent Callahan's empire already knew exactly who I was. The assignment on my screen felt less like a delivery and more like a message. I read it 3 times. Callahan Freight Services. 1847, Linden Avenue. Driver, Claire Bennett. Yesterday, that address had been an odd detail buried inside my memory. This morning, someone had placed my name directly beside it. I set my coffee on the hood of the van and pulled Vincent's business card from my jacket pocket. For several seconds, I considered calling him. Then I remembered his hesitation when I had asked him to tell me anything that could affect me. Too long. Too careful. I called dispatch instead. Morning, Claire. My supervisor, Megan, answered. You are early. Who assigned my first stop? Keyboard clicks filled the line. Automated executive request. What? Can you see when it was submitted? Another pause. 11:48 last night. My stomach tightened. I had still been inside Callahan Tower at 11:14. Was my name specifically requested? Yes. The cold morning suddenly felt colder. Claire, is something wrong? I do not know yet. I ended the call and stared across the depot. Drivers loaded carts. Engine started. Radios played somewhere near the loading bay. Everything looked painfully normal. Then a black sedan rolled through the gate. Vincent stepped out before it had fully settled into its parking space. No entourage. No dramatic entrance. Just Vincent in a dark coat, moving toward me with the controlled purpose I remembered from the conference room. Black ink rose above his collar, the visible edge of tattoos that covered him beneath his clothes. Do not take that delivery, he said. I folded my arms. Good morning to you too. He stopped several feet away. Claire, listen to me. I am listening. I am also remembering one of my conditions. His jaw tightened. I found out 20 minutes ago. Someone requested me by name. At 11:48 last night. Silence. Did you know that? No. Did you know someone could identify me? Another hesitation. Smaller this time, but I caught it. Vincent. He looked toward the depot, then back at me. Once Ethan confirmed the reroutes came through internal accounts, I knew anyone connected to last night's meeting could become relevant. The words landed harder than they should have. Relevant. That is not what I meant. It is exactly what you meant. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low. You knew there was a possibility my name could circulate inside your company, and you let me walk out believing this ended when I left your building. I had people monitoring the system. I told you not to interfere with my life. I was trying to protect you. Without telling me. He went quiet. There it was. The difference between us. Vincent believed protection gave him permission. I believed protection without choice was just another kind of control. I am done, I said. Claire. No. You asked for my help. I gave it. You agreed to be honest. You were not. I reached into my pocket, pulled out his business card, and held it toward him. He did not take it. Keep it. Why? Because you may still need to reach me. You really do not hear the word no very often, do you? Something almost sad crossed his face. Not from people who mean it. That stopped me for half a second. Then my work phone chimed again. The Linden Avenue delivery vanished from my route. A replacement appeared beneath it. Regular pickup. Midtown Pharmacy. I looked up sharply. Did you do that? Yes. Anger flashed through me. I specifically told you not to interfere with my job. I know. Then why? Because this morning I am choosing your anger over your involvement in something you never agreed to. I wanted to argue. The frustrating part was that he had finally said it correctly. Not because I belonged to him. Not because he could command me. Because I had not agreed. I slipped the card back into my pocket. That does not fix last night. I know. And I am still not coming at 10. Vincent nodded. No argument. No order. Understood. He turned toward the sedan. I watched him leave, telling myself that was the end of it. By 9:30, I was delivering prescription bags in Midtown and trying to forget Callahan Tower existed. Then my scanner displayed a familiar customer name. North Vale Imports. Same company from the Brooklyn receiving address. The package was being delivered to an accounting office 3 blocks from Vincent's tower. I checked the recipient information. Grant Mercer. My breath caught. Under special instructions was an authorization code I had seen before on every suspicious reroute. I photographed the screen with my personal phone. Then I noticed the approval timestamp. 11:36 last night. 12 minutes before someone specifically assigned me to Linden Avenue. Grant had approved the reroute while he was still sitting in that conference room with us. And suddenly I understood why he had wanted me gone. By 9:42, I was standing on a midtown sidewalk with my phone in one hand and Vincent Callahan's business card in the other, arguing with myself about which mistake would be worse. Calling him meant stepping back into a world I had already decided to leave. Staying silent meant pretending I had not just found Grant Mercer's name attached to the exact pattern Vincent was trying to uncover. I called. Vincent answered before the second ring. Claire. No hello. No surprise. How did you know it was me? I saved your number. That is mildly unsettling. You called me. I hated that he had a point. Traffic rolled past me, horns echoing between the buildings. I found something. His voice changed instantly. Where are you? That is not the important part. It is important to me. Vincent. Silence. Then, carefully, what did you find? Better. I told him about North Vale Imports, the accounting office, Grant's name, and the 11:36 authorization. Vincent did not interrupt once. When I finished, the line stayed quiet long enough for me to check whether the call had dropped. Say something. Grant has controlled executive finance for 14 years. Then he had 14 years to learn where nobody was looking. Vincent exhaled slowly. Do not deliver that package. You are doing it again. Claire, Grant knows your name. And I know his. That does not make this equal. I never said it did. I looked through the glass doors of the office building across the street. But if I suddenly disappear from the route, he knows we noticed him. Yesterday, he wanted the shipment to move normally. So let it look normal. No, you asked for my memory. Now trust my judgment. Another long silence. This one felt different. Not resistance. Calculation. Finally, Vincent said, What do you need? The question surprised me. Nothing. I make the delivery. I record who signs. I leave. And if Grant is there, then I hand him a package because that is literally my job. Vincent almost laughed. Almost. You make it sound simple. Most things look simple when nobody is trying to control every variable. Was that directed at me? Completely. I crossed the street and entered the lobby. The receptionist sent me to the 7th floor. My heart beat faster as the elevator climbed, but I kept breathing normally. 7th floor. Accounting offices. Beige carpet. Fluorescent lights. Nothing about it looked connected to a secret network of shell companies. A woman named Patricia signed for the package. Not Grant. I thanked her and turned to leave. Then I saw the recycling cart beside the reception desk. On top sat a torn shipping envelope bearing the blue and gold Halcyon logo. Beneath it was another label. Westbridge Consulting. Same address. Same authorization format. I did not touch anything. I did not need to. I photographed what was visible and walked out. Vincent was waiting across the street when I emerged. Of course he was. He stood beside the black sedan, dark coat open enough to reveal the edge of ink above his collar and along his wrists. I stopped in front of him. You followed me. I stayed outside. That is an impressive technicality. I am learning. I showed him the photographs. His expression went still. 3 companies. Same office. And Grant's authorization connects them. Vincent looked toward the building. This is enough to start tracing the financial structure. Then do that. I handed his card back to him. This time he accepted it. Claire, I meant what I said this morning. I am done. His eyes held mine. I know. No command followed. No attempt to stop me. He simply stepped aside. That should have made leaving easier. It did not. I walked 2 blocks before my work phone began vibrating repeatedly. Route canceled. Then another alert. Payroll system unavailable. Then another. Company network outage. Across the street, televisions inside an electronics store switched to financial news. Callahan Holdings flashed across the screen beneath a breaking report about frozen accounts, suspended contracts, and an internal compliance investigation. My personal phone rang. Vincent. I answered. For the first time, his voice did not sound powerful. It sounded tired. Grant moved early. Behind him I heard phones ringing and people talking at once. How bad? I asked. Banks are freezing credit lines. Partners are walking away. Someone released documents claiming I authorized every shell company you found. I stopped walking. Grant had not built the network to steal from Vincent. He had built it to make Vincent look like its architect. Vincent, if you react publicly before proving those records are false, you give Grant exactly what he wants. Silence. How do you know? I looked down at my scanner. At 12 years of ordinary logistics technology, nobody powerful had thought important enough to manipulate perfectly. Then I remembered the signatures, the timestamps, the route histories. Because he changed the paperwork, I whispered, but I do not think he changed the deliveries. The deliveries are the one thing he could not rewrite after they happened. I turned away from the electronics store window and pressed the phone closer to my ear. Vincent went quiet. Explain. Grant can change contracts. He can create companies. He can approve reroutes through executive accounts. But every physical delivery created an independent record before anyone knew it mattered. Pickup scans, driver identification, timestamps, location data, signatures. I started walking toward my van. If his documents say you authorized these companies before certain dates, but the original shipping history shows those companies were already operating through Grant's network, his timeline falls apart. Vincent answered immediately. Come to the tower. I stopped. Asked. Silence. Then his voice softened. Claire, will you come to the tower? Yes. 20 minutes later, the 51st floor looked nothing like the silent conference room I remembered. Phones rang constantly. Employees moved between offices carrying folders and laptops. Screens showed falling numbers and canceled agreements. Vincent stood near the windows with his jacket removed, white sleeves rolled to his forearms. Black tattoos covered every visible inch of skin from his wrists upward, disappearing beneath his shirt and climbing his neck. Somehow, surrounded by panic, he was the calmest person there. Ethan hurried toward me. We found the altered records, but Grant covered the changes through multiple administrative accounts. Forget the altered records, I said. Get the original carrier logs. Ethan blinked. Our internal logistics database is compromised. I'm not talking about yours. I lifted my scanner. The carrier keeps its own history. I called Megan at dispatch and requested archived proof of delivery records under compliance review. It took 37 minutes. 37 long minutes while Vincent's empire seemed to lose another piece of itself every time a phone rang. Then the files arrived. Hundreds of entries. I sat beside Ethan and began matching what I remembered. Halcyon Meridian. North Vale Imports. Westbridge Consulting. 6 shell companies. 3 receiving addresses. Repeated signatures. Repeated reroutes. Then I saw it. Stop. Ethan leaned closer. What? I pointed at 2 timestamps. Grant's documents claim Vincent authorized Westbridge on March 18th. Correct. This package was delivered March 3rd. Ethan stared at the screen. 15 days earlier. And look who approved the reroute. Grant Mercer's executive credential. Vincent stepped behind us. Find another. We did. North Vale had received shipments 22 days before the paperwork claimed Vincent created it. Halcyon had been receiving packages almost 6 months before the agreement reached his desk. One by one, Grant's perfect story broke apart. Not dramatically, quietly, timestamp by timestamp, receipt by receipt, ordinary facts refusing to become lies. Ethan sent the records to outside counsel, the banks, and the compliance teams. Within an hour, the first frozen credit line was placed under review instead of termination. Then a partner suspended its withdrawal. Then another. The collapse slowed. Vincent's phone rang. He listened for less than a minute before ending the call. Grant resigned. I looked up. That quickly. He knows the independent records can be verified. There was no triumph in Vincent's voice. Only disappointment. 14 years of trust had disappeared in one morning. I understood then that saving an empire did not mean saving everything inside the man who built it. Ethan left to coordinate with the attorneys, and suddenly Vincent and I were alone beside the conference table where this had started. He looked exhausted. Human, finally. You were right, he said. About the deliveries? About me. I said nothing. I thought protecting people meant controlling every possible outcome. His gaze dropped briefly to his hands. Yesterday, I would have told you to stay here until this was finished. And today, he looked at me. Today I know you stayed because you chose to. Something warm and painful moved through my chest. I stood and picked up my jacket. Do not make me regret it. I will try not to. I smiled despite myself. That is surprisingly humble for you. I have had an educational 24 hours. I started toward the door. Behind me, Vincent spoke again. Claire. I turned, expecting another request. Instead, he simply said, thank you. No money. No promise. No command. Just 2 words from a man who had spent years believing power meant never needing anyone. I nodded and walked toward the elevator. Just before the doors closed, I looked back. Vincent Callahan stood alone inside the empire everyone thought he ruled. And for the first time, I understood what had really changed. I had not saved him by entering his world. I had saved him by refusing to become like it. 3 weeks later, I was standing outside a pharmacy on Lexington Avenue when a black sedan pulled up to the curb. I did not need to see the driver to know who was inside. "You have got to be kidding me," I whispered. The rear door opened, and Vincent Callahan stepped onto the sidewalk carrying 2 cups of coffee. No security team appeared behind him. No assistants rushed ahead. Just Vincent in a dark coat, black ink visible above his collar and across his hands, looking strangely out of place beside my delivery van. "Before you accuse me of interfering with your route," he said. I checked. "You are on break." I stared at him. "You checked my break schedule?" He paused. That sounded better in my head. I laughed before I could stop myself. It was the first time I had seen him since the morning grant scheme collapsed. The investigations were still continuing, but Callahan Holdings had stabilized. The banks restored their credit lines after independent records confirmed the altered timeline. The partners who had walked away began returning. Grant was gone. Vincent's empire survived. My life, meanwhile, had become wonderfully ordinary again. Deliveries, traffic, bad coffee, rent. I had missed ordinary. Vincent held out one of the cups. Vanilla latte. 2 pumps. No whipped cream. I narrowed my eyes. "How do you know my order?" "You left the receipt on the conference table." "Of course you noticed that." I learned from someone who notices things. I accepted the coffee. "Why are you here?" He leaned against the sedan but kept a respectful distance. "I wanted to offer you a position." I closed my eyes. "Vincent, Director of Logistics Integrity. Full authority to audit internal shipping systems. Excellent salary. Benefits." "No, I expected that." I opened my eyes. "Then why offer?" "Because you deserve to know the door is open." That answer surprised me. There was no pressure behind it. No assumption that money should change my mind. "Thank you," I said. Still no. "Understood." He reached into his coat and produced an envelope. I immediately shook my head. "If that is a check, put it away." "It is not." Inside was a handwritten letter from Ethan. The company had created an independent employee reporting system. Based on what happened, delivery drivers, warehouse staff, receptionists, and contractors could now flag irregularities without executive approval. At the bottom was one sentence from Vincent. "People closest to the details deserve to be heard." I read it twice. "You actually changed the system. You were right about that too. This is becoming a dangerous habit." For my ego, certainly. I smiled. Manhattan moved around us, impatient and loud. 3 weeks earlier, this man could silence a room with a glance. Now he stood beside my scratched delivery van waiting for me to decide whether the conversation continued. "Anything else?" I asked. For the first time since I had met him, Vincent Callahan looked uncertain. It lasted only a second, but I saw it. "Yes. I am listening." "Can I see you again?" I blinked. "You are seeing me now." "Claire." I let him suffer for another second. "Are you asking me to dinner?" "I am attempting to." "No private dining room." "Fine. No restaurant where everyone knows your name." That eliminates several places. "No driver waiting outside." He almost objected, then caught himself. "Fine." I took a sip of coffee. "There is a little Italian place in Queens. Friday, 7:30. His expression softened. "Is that a yes?" "That is a chance." Vincent nodded as though I had offered him something more valuable than certainty. "I can work with a chance." My scanner beeped from inside the van, telling me my break was over. I opened the driver's door, then looked back at him. "Vincent." "Yes." "You are getting better at hearing no." A quiet smile appeared. I had a good teacher. I drove away a minute later, watching Callahan Tower shrink in my mirror. I used to think power belonged to people with money, buildings, influence, and rooms that went silent when they entered. Vincent taught me something different, although he never meant to. Real power was being able to control others. Real strength was knowing when not to. He ruled an empire by making people listen. But somewhere between one wrong elevator and one unsigned contract, he learned to listen too.